Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm working on the 2010 Camaro again, installing some pillar pod gauges. These are dual pod, so you got air fuel ratio and boost. I just started installing them. Before I get too ahead of myself, I'd like to just show you a couple of things. This is the instructions that came with the pillar pods. The part number is 2650-1539-00. These instructions are pretty clear, but I figured it makes sense to show you what it looks like on camera, just to give you an idea what you're getting into. This is the boost gauge I'm going to be using, AEM 30-0306 with the pressure sensor. And then this is the wideband AEM gauge. This also has the pass-through for HP tuners, so I can data log just plugging in. It's a 30-0334. All right, so I did get ahead of myself. As you can see, I do have the new pod installed with the gauges set in it. I was gonna pull them out and start over from square one, but they're fitting really good. I really don't wanna break anything while I'm trying to remove it. So just to give you an idea of this is how good it looks. It does sit really nice. It sits flush, no push pins like the old school ones. Sits really good against the glass, down on the dash. Really good quality. So this is the OEM pillar trim piece. As you can see up here, there's one piece missing. You'll see it in the instructions. It has a clip on it with a strap. It's so when the airbag blows off, if the curtain were to be deployed, it would pop it out, allow the airbag to come off, but this won't hit you in the face. So the instructions, like I said, are very clear. You pop it off of here, and you also pop it off the pillar, and you swap them over. So once you get the old one out, you'll remove that, put that onto the new pillar trim piece, and then this push pin's actually already installed on the new one. But the big one is these bottom, I don't know if you want to call them fingers or tabs. What you want to do to get this one off is I just used a plastic prying tool from the top here, right in here, started prying it back till I got this push pin and this push pin to pop out, and then you got to kind of finagle it out sideways and pull up like that, and you'll see by the way these fingers are, it's sitting inside of the dash. See if I can get it like this. There we go. And then it sinks itself down in and then pops into the pillar, if that makes sense. But this came out, I didn't break anything, so it's definitely doable. It is tight. Like I said, it fits very well. And luckily Autometer also made their new cover fit very well. So I'll save this for the next owner after I get rid of this car someday, but it'll probably never go back on. So this is where I sit right now. These gauges are just sitting in there. Another thing I did too, before I mounted the gauges, before I popped it in, ran the cables down, and then this side cover for the where the fuse block is, this cover pops right off, just push pin, same thing, pried from the top, popped it off. And as you can see, the cables are running down. I zip tied them together, zip tied them to the box so they're not sitting in there rattling. And then I just have a whole mess of wires down here that I still have to address. I gotta get these through the firewall. Not all of them. But I gotta get the boost reference and the oxygen sensor cable through the firewall. So I'm gonna start doing that next. But one more thing, with these gauges, they have quite a bit of small electronics inside of them. You really don't wanna be pushing these into pods and really smashing them in. So I just took a piece of Scotch-Brite and just cleaned up the hole just ever so slightly. Just went around and around, just kept fitting, and I got a nice snug fit. And I was able to put the gauge, the back of the gauges come with a, I don't know, like a C-clamp type holder for the pod, for the gauge itself. And you're able to get one nut on there. So these things aren't going anywhere, they're very tight. All right, so the oxygen sense is pretty straightforward. That's gonna come through the firewall. I'm gonna route straight down by this frame rail, stay away from the header. And then I have a bung already welded on the long tubes. Janetti actually welded that bung on when they tuned the car. So that's convenient. I'm just gonna screw that in, wire that. The boost reference is a little harder with this type of blower because I gotta get below the screws and above the manifold. So the only place I can grab a boost reference off of this is right back here, the very back of the blower. That's where the map sensor is. There's actually a couple of plugs that are ported for a boost reference. So that I'm not gonna be able to get on camera because I gotta do it without even, I gotta do it all by feel anyway. So I'll get that sensor in, and then I'm gonna drill the hole right through the firewall. It's a good spot. Unfortunately, I did this once already for the line lock. And you'll see where you get the painted steel firewall, and you have kind of like this opening with another panel that's bolted on. That's where it's all black. And you can see that grommet on the right. That's the one that I did for the single wire to go to the line lock. Unfortunately, I didn't know I was gonna be doing all this. I wish I just put a nice big step bit hole, which I'm gonna do now. So I'm gonna end up drilling right above it, right about there, put a nice big grommet, and then I'll cut the hole as big as I need to and slot it so that I can pass through whatever I gotta pass through. I don't know what else I'll be running through the firewall after this, but at least I'll have some room after. All right, so I was able to add another grommet through the firewall right there in the lower right. So I have the two cables, the O2 cable and the boost gauge cable. The boost gauge cable I routed along the cowl here, all the way around behind the supercharger, and I was able to hook the boost gauge, or the pressure sensor rather, in the very back of the blower. It's almost impossible to do with the blower on. I was able to get it. So if you're putting a Whipple on and you think you're gonna add a boost gauge, do it before you drop it on and bolt it down, because it was a bear to get that on there, but I can't get that on video. It's just buried. So the boost gauge is hooked up. The cable's landed on the sensor. The cable for the oxygen sensor, I'll just show you quick, so that I didn't have to drill like 1.25 inch or larger hole. What I did was I depinned the cable. So just to get an idea to depin this, it's not a big deal. It's pretty straightforward. It's easy. Instrument controls guy will tell you otherwise, but it's straightforward. So if you look right where my thumb is, you'll see that piece of tin on the side. That's a tab. There's one on each side. Looks like two little wings sticking out. So what happens is when you pop this into the connector, those wings are spread out, putting tension outward. It'll actually lock itself inside of the connector. So here's the connector, just to give you an idea. So I had this tool is actually for taking a SIM card out of an iPhone, but you can use 2 paper clips, whatever you have kicking around that's small enough. And if you see on the side of each, right there, there's a little hole on the right side and a little hole on the left side. The actual termination, the pin, will be right in the middle, the connector. So when you slide this on this side and you slide that on that side, you're actually just squeezing those 2 tabs inward, and then you just yank from below. You just grab the wire like that. Once those are in, those will be depressed and you could slide it right out. It's super straightforward. Once you do one, you'll get it. But if you're working on this exact connector, AEM gauge, you want to pull this purple piece out from the side. That'll unlock the bottom of the pins. So once these are all seated, I'll push that purple clip back in. That won't allow these to come out even if you depress those. So you pop the plastic piece off first, you push down each side of the pin to depress those in, and then you can grab the wire and just tug it straight down. Don't pull it too hard. You don't want to ruin the crimp connection, but you give it a decent tug, it's either going to go or it's not. So I'm going to reverse this process, put it all back together. Make sure you take good pictures from the back side of what color goes where. You definitely want to land these back where they belong. All right, well, I got everything under the hood's done. So like I said before, the boost pressure sensor, that's hooked up, ran through the firewall. I got all the cables all tidied up. I used that conduit right down there to run the wideband. It goes down and around and follows the OEM wideband cable, and I just tied them all together. Kept them away from the headers. The bung that comes with it, I didn't have to use. Janetti had welded a bung to the inlet of the high flow cat, so I just took the plug out and put the wideband in. But it does come with one if you have to add it. and then have all the connections passing through the firewall. So everything under the hood, under the car is done. The next step is to wire the power and ground. All right, so I got the wiring done. What I ended up doing was I bought a little fuse adder circuit, so it splits one circuit into two. They're both fuse protected. So I carried that one wire and I spliced both cables together in here and added some shrink wrap tubing. So it's nice and clean, it's secure, it's spliced right here. The ground I ended up grabbing on the inside here, 7mm screw. Same thing, single wire to both of them spliced under here. So this is switched power in between these relays. We should be good to go. I haven't tested it yet, but let's try it. All right, moment of truth. So it should be switched power. There we go, one click forward. And they're booting up. So the air fuel, that O2 sensor is gonna have to heat up before it starts measuring. And it looks like the boost gauge is ready to go. So I'm gonna move some cars out of the way so I can get this outside, and then just take it for a ride around the block, see how it acts. All right, going for a ride. Everything looks good. Very happy. Very quick response. I like the recall. Yeah, I couldn't be happier with these gauges. They look good. They fit good with the cluster. They don't stand out like a sore thumb. So yeah, I'm happy with this purchase. If you like what you see, if you like this video, think about subscribing, liking this video. Helps me out a lot. And see you in the next one, guys.